Okay, let's dive right into this. Picture this. You're stepping into a completely uncharted, dense rainforest. It is just teeming with life everywhere you look. I mean, it's so raw and untouched that you're literally having to stop every few minutes just to peel leeches off your boots. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a virtual trek into one of the absolute last unexplored rainforests in Sri Lanka. We're talking about a secretive, hidden world where practically every rock and tree hides a creature that science has zero record of. Now, it really begs a chilling question, doesn't it? What actually happens to a species that goes extinct before it's even discovered? We hear about deforestation all the time, right? Habitats getting bulldozed for development. But the really wild, hidden tragedy here is that entire species, animals with no scientific record, no name, no photographs, could just be wiped off the face of the earth without us ever even knowing they were there. Just poof, vanished in total silence. All right, Section 1, Sri Lanka's secret wildlife. Let's see what's actually hiding out there. To fight this silent extinction, we've got to look at the folks right on the front lines. Deep in this undisclosed Sri Lankan jungle, there's an incredible conservation biologist named Dr. Ranil Nanayakara, who runs a nonprofit called BR, Biodiversity, Education, and Research. And get this, over just the last 5 years, Dr. Ranil's team has found at least 40 brand new animal species out there. Spiders, scorpions, amphibians, even mammals. It's a wildly diverse ecosystem. For example, they've documented the endemic pipe snake, which is totally non-venomous and harmless, living right next door to the crate, which is so highly venomous it can literally kill a person in an hour without immediate medical help. The ecological balance here is just off the charts. And man, it is not just the animals. The plant life is straight up science fiction. Hidden right there in the brush are actual carnivorous pitcher plants. You know, an insect flies in, the lid snaps shut, and bam, they're trapped. Inside is this deadly fluid that slowly digests the bugs to feed the plant. It's a super intense, unfiltered reminder of just how raw this ecosystem really is. Which brings us to Section 2, the extinction threat. So this incredible habitat is under massive pressure from illegal logging and human encroachment. And this is exactly why Dr. Ranil refuses to reveal the jungle's location. See, the second the public finds out about a cool new exotic species, a terrifying countdown starts. On one side, you have the scientists trying to protect the area, but on the other side, poachers. Actually, on a recent trip, researchers went looking for a newly discovered tarantula from 2019, and instead of finding spiders, they found absolute heartbreak. Poachers had come in and literally dug up the burrows for the illegal pet trade. People want these rare animals just to show off as pets, and they're willing to completely devastate an ecosystem to capture voiceless animals and make a quick buck. And that leads us to Section 3, the 6th steps of documentation. So the crucial point here is that just knowing an animal exists isn't enough to stop the bulldozers or the poachers. It has to be put on the official scientific map. And doing that, it's basically an exhausting 6-step marathon. Let's look at the first 3 hurdles. Step 1 is field exploration. Trekking through those leech-infested woods, fighting off mosquitoes, just hoping for a glimpse of something new. Step 2 is specimen collection, bringing it back to Beer's Hilltop Jungle Lab. And step 3 is the morphological exam, where you study its exact physical structure under high-powered microscopes. Now, I want to highlight something really amazing about step 2, the collection part. Historically, a lot of scientists would just, well, kill the animal on the spot to bring it back to the lab. But Dr. Ranil, he has this incredibly strict, ethical approach. He captures them live, studies them gently, and then literally just waits for them to naturally die of old age before moving on to the intensive physical exam. As he puts it, we do not kill it. And step 3 gets even wilder. So to preserve the dead specimen for the record, they have to keep it in alcohol, right? But here's the catch. The alcohol completely drains the animal's natural pigment, turning the whole thing red. That is exactly why it is absolutely critical for scientists to take super high-quality, vivid photos while the animal is still alive, because without those live photos, the scientific record completely loses what the creature actually looked like in the wild. Okay, so on to the final 3 steps. Step 4 is comparative analysis. You can't just shout, "I found a new species." You have to travel to global museums and compare your specimen against known ones. Step 5 is molecular analysis, which sometimes means running full DNA sequencing to prove the genetics are totally unique. And finally, the whole shebang wraps up with step 6, publication, writing a massive formal research paper to declare the new species to the world. And speaking of publication, there is a fascinating rule in taxonomy for naming these discoveries. Scientists actually cannot name a newly discovered species after themselves. No way! It has to honor someone else. For instance, the source material notes this stunning new tarantula in the Poecilotheria genus. Because a specific contributor provided the crucial funding to document it, the scientists officially named the spider Poecilotheria rithei, permanently honoring that individual's contribution. Moving into Section 4, Why Documentation Saves Forests. Now, you might be wondering, why even bother jumping through all these insanely tedious scientific hoops? Why not just leave the forest alone? Well, because of this number right here, $3,000 to $4,000. That is the staggeringly high cost to publish just one single research paper in credible journals like Nature or Science. And the brutal reality is that post-COVID, funding for BBER basically dried up. They have the expertise, they literally have 40 new species sitting in jars waiting, but they just do not have the money to formally document them. And this brilliantly illustrates why funding is the ultimate trigger for survival. It's a total domino effect. Phase 1, scientific documentation proves the thing exists. Phase 2, global scientists flock there, creating research tourism. Phase 3, that tourism brings in NGOs, putting massive pressure on the government. And finally, Phase 4, the government steps in and declares the area a protected national park. You see the connection here? If you never name the spider, the government never protects the forest. It's that simple. Which leads us to our final part, Section 5, Funding the Next Discovery. Real conservation is all about funneling resources directly back to the local level. When a major funding boost happens, say around a 10 lakh rupee contribution, it gets to work instantly. It covers salaries and transport for field assistants for months. It pays for those global museum flights. It buys the high-end cameras and microscopes. It covers those crazy publication fees. And most importantly, it funds local awareness. They use this money to teach villagers how to identify these animals and actually hire them as forest rangers to fight off those poachers we talked about earlier. Direct funding is a total game changer. A roughly $3,000 contribution can entirely fund the A to Z scientific documentation of a single species. And remember that naming rule we just went over? The donor who steps up to fund the research actually earns the permanent naming rights for that animal. It is such a powerful way to immortalize a name, while literally giving an entire habitat the legal armor it needs to survive. So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought. Right now, as you and I are talking, there are 40 magnificent, completely undiscovered species sitting in the dark of that Sri Lankan rainforest. Spiders, snakes, fish, mammals, just waiting for the resources to be brought into the light. Will they finally get named and protected? Or will their forest get leveled, causing them to vanish in absolute silence without us ever even knowing they existed? It really is a delicate balance of discovery and destruction. Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Stay curious, stay focused, and I'll catch you on the next one.